What if being broke right now isn't proof that you are failing, but proof that you are actually destined for massive wealth? Today, I am breaking down 8 unexpected signs that money, abundance, and freedom are already written in your future. And spoiler, I saved my favorite for last. So if you had a rough childhood or a rough go of your early years, you are especially going to love number 8. This is for you if you have ever felt behind, stuck, or like wealth is maybe for, quote, other people. This is also for you if you know wealth is in your future, but you haven't struck it yet. And it's just nice knowing that it's on the way, and it's nice to have these reminders. This episode is going to reframe everything for you. These are the hidden clues that your broke season is only temporary, it's only an illusion, and that your rich life is closer than you think. Let's dive in. Welcome to All In with Allie, the podcast for online business owners and entrepreneurs who are ready to create the life and business of their dreams. I'm so happy you are here. All right. So, like I said in the introduction, maybe you identify with being in a bit of a broke season now. I would never suggest that anybody identifies with being broke. That's like red flag number 1. You never adopt that as your identity. It's all temporary. It's all a temporary illusion. It's like waves crashing, going in and out. It just depends on where you take that snapshot. It's just a temporary situation. It's either in, it's either out. And right now, maybe wealth and abundance and money is just a little on the out. But if it goes out, it must come in. So we know it's on our way back to us. We know that. But I wanted to create this podcast to give you some peace of mind and create these signs for you, or gather these signs for you. I really believe all of these. When I was making this list, every single one, I was like 100%. Not just because I resonate with these, I resonate with a lot of them, but because I've witnessed it through my own clients. I've witnessed it in the people that I've studied along the years and all the stories that I've heard. These are tried and true proven signs that you are destined. And I want to say too, even if some of these don't resonate with you, I would be shocked if somebody listened to this episode and none of these resonated. But even if some of them didn't, and maybe you're a little disappointed by that, it's all just a choice, right? Like one of these that I'm going to give has to do with your childhood and has to do with maybe some things that you experienced growing up. And maybe you didn't have that experience. Well, that doesn't mean you're not destined for wealth. Anybody gets to decide. We've been given free will. We are co-creators in this experience. So I just want you to listen with an open mind and remember that you have more power than you probably realize. And at the end of the day, wealth is a choice. It's a frequency. It's something that you either tap into or you don't. And you can turn it on and off like a switch, just like you would the electricity or the lights in your home. All right. So again, maybe you don't identify with feeling broke right now. That's fine, but maybe you're not quite at the level of wealth that you want. You're going to love this. And if you are feeling on the broker end, not that we're identifying, but maybe we just feel like that's the season, that's the snapshot that we are in currently, I want first to set this episode up with something called the wealth building arc. So just like anything else, it's like building a home. There's going to be stages to it. If you were not born into wealth, it has to be built, and there's an arc to it. There's a journey to it. So if we were to go by, and obviously this can look so many different ways for everybody, but the most typical framework is going to look a little something like this. So first, there's the initiation. There's the, maybe you call it the broke season, or the season where you started from the bottom, now we're here type vibe. This is where money feels scarce. The lessons that you are being given and that you are being initiated into are about survival, budgeting, learning the value of money. This stage often includes some sort of karmic reckoning. Maybe you come into a certain amount of family money patterns, maybe into a certain money or amount of debt or self-worth around your lineage and your family dynamics, right? And you have to navigate that and opt out of it and be the one who shifts those generational curses or shifts the timeline, the bloodline as it relates to wealth in your family dynamic. But in this phase, even though you wake up and you look around you and it doesn't look like what you want it to look like, you begin to realize you have this feeling, or you just start to see around you through other examples, that being broke isn't your forever. It's simply just a point in time, and you get to choose to stay there and to lie down and take it, or you can choose to opt out of it and get yourself out of it. So that's the initiation phase. And then there's the awakening phase. This is where you start to begin to shift your identity as it relates to money and as it relates to your ability and your destiny in creating money and wealth. You stop identifying as, quote, broke or bad with money. You start resisting those old titles and those old patterns. You begin investing in yourself and learning about money and shifting your beliefs as to what's possible and how to attract more money and wealth into your life. You start to notice that money starts beginning to be attracted to you. It starts trickling in through opportunities and synchronicities and side hustles, or, whatever you have going on. And you begin to play and dance with abundance instead of maybe just surviving, or again, just accepting maybe what you were born into, or maybe what you felt trapped in for a period of your life. You start to notice the abundance around you, maybe not specifically with money, but in other areas. And you realize that abundance can be applied to anything, including and especially money. So you start to wake up and you start to shift your identity, and you realize that you are a powerful creator, and it is your birthright to be as rich as you want. The third step in this process is where you start building momentum here. You really start to understand the power of your energy. You stop looking at what other people have as a trigger of what you don't, but instead you start to see it as proof as to what is possible for you. You start to, and because of that shift, not only in identity, but in your overall frequency, you begin to experience your first big financial wins, right? Maybe it's your first 5-figure month or 6-figure month. You get some windfalls. Maybe you have a successful launch, a career breakthrough. You begin to realize that when you start shifting and playing with your energy, more money either is attracted or repelled, and you start to pay attention to those patterns and you start to get playful with it. You realize money can be created and attracted, not just received. Your confidence will begin to build, and you learn how to cycle money back into growth, right? It's just part of the plan now. It's just part of it. It's not the whole goal, but it's like the cherry on the sundae. You don't necessarily, you can be obsessed with it, but you're not starving for it anymore. You're good. You're starting to get comfortable, and you start to use money as a tool. Then, because you're using money as a tool, the next step in the wealth creation arc is your expansion. This is where you start to build your systems and you start to build multiple money streams. You understand the power of not putting all of your eggs in one basket, and you maybe learn how to invest, or, you just shift from this instant dynamic of money when I launch something, or I'm going to create something, I'm going to tap dance on the internet, I'm going to do something to receive this. You start to get smart and you begin building and attracting wealth in other ways. Again, via maybe multiple streams of income, investments, scalable offers, whatever makes sense in your world. But money becomes a system, not so much a hustle. It's not so much, this feast or famine situation anymore. You start to build up from a place of good and comfort versus scarcity. Also, in this phase too, you start to, I've noticed, you realize the value of your time. This is where it's like, okay, like I'll never forget when I had my first 6-figure month. That was the most money that I'd ever made in that short period of time. But I did it by selling all of my time. And I realized that while I loved having that much money in the bank, and that was amazing, I much prefer lower amounts of money, but more time. So then comes the game and the goal of freedom versus just money, right? And that's where wealth comes in. That's the difference between maybe being rich and being wealthy, as you start thinking in terms of freedom, not just cash flow. And then finally, because of that, because you sustained a level of financial abundance, then comes the legacy component. This is like the highest level of your wealth. It's sustained wealth. It's where you go from trying to earn and do to more of an impact. You start using your wealth to impact others. It's not just about you anymore. It's about what you build, what you give, and what you leave behind, either to your family or to those closest to you or to those that you care about. This is generational wealth, philanthropy, legacy projects. This is ultimately where money really becomes that tool, and it's no longer a stressor. It hasn't been a stressor in a really, really long time because you've mastered it. All right, so that is the wealth arc. And I wanted to start off this episode with that for you because I want to show you how this goes. And it doesn't have to go perfectly in the order, like I said, but wherever you fall, you see that there's other steps to go. And some of you might be really, really, really close to wealth, closer than maybe what you realize. And it's up to you how fast this all clicks in. We can do a podcast on the illusion of time. Well, we definitely will another day. But for now, let's get into these signs, shall we? So again, these are 8 signs, 8 unexpected signs that money, abundance, and freedom are already written in your future. Sign number 1 is you have always felt different around money. Okay, this is more so for my listeners out there who didn't really come from money. Or maybe you did, because I know plenty of people who came from money, but the beliefs around money and their family dynamic was still scarce. There was a level of scarcity around it, and you just always felt different. Maybe you did grow up in lack, but there was something in you that just knew it wasn't your forever, right? And like, that's something that I can relate to. I will never forget. It was Christmas one year, and it was such a bummer because it was just a year that financially hit my family really hard. This was when my dad had moved, so I wasn't spending the holidays with him. He moved to another state. So I was staying with my mom and my stepdad and my little brother and sister. And I think I was either in middle school or high school, and we didn't even have a Christmas tree. My mom and my stepdad had just kind of like given up for the holidays, and my siblings were young. I mean, these are like young, impressionable kids. I was at the age where I was like, okay, I mean, it sucks. Like I would love, a nice holiday season, but I felt so bad for my little brother and sister, and we didn't even have a Christmas tree. And I think what we ended up doing is going around and finding random gifts that we already had and wrapping them for the kids. I mean, like, that sounds sweet, but it was really depressing. And I remember just like whatever age I was, I felt so down. And it was like Christmas morning, and I've been like texting my other friends, and they're like getting all these new clothes and like new cars and stuff for the holidays. And I just felt like it was such a contrast. And I just remember feeling depressed about it. I was like, oh God. And I just remember feeling in my body, this is not it. This is not it. Like, whatever this is, I rebuke in the name of Jesus, in the name of everything. Like, I will never live this life. I will never create this. And I had no reason to feel that way. I didn't have any other family members that were wealthy. I come from a blue collar type town. It just, I don't know, like something in me, there was just a spark there, a little bit of an ember that could have so easily been put out by the harsh reality, by the wet blanket of what I was being raised in. But it never did. And it stayed burning. And it's guided me every step of the way. This little whisper, this little hint of, hey, this isn't it. It can be so much better. And this is just temporary. And I knew that. So maybe you relate to that. You've just always felt different. Again, this isn't just for people who came from broke environments, from family dynamics, but again, maybe your family had some money beliefs, and instead of blindly accepting them, you questioned them. You asked, like, okay, is that like, I get that's how you feel, mom. I get that's how you feel, grandpa. But I look at things a little bit differently. Another thing that I experienced growing up is I had an amazing grandfather. Like, truly, this is my mom's dad. He was the best. He passed away in 2022. I miss him so much. And let me just give you like a little glimpse into the life of being his granddaughter. When I graduated high school, he came to watch me graduate. And before graduation, this was like the night before, he had me come to his hotel room and sit down, and he gave me a presentation about the value of money and spending money. And he did the whole graph of like, if you spend $3 on a latte every day and like how that adds up. He was all about zero debt and saving and being smart with every dollar that you have. He was just so anti-debt. When Chris and I got married, he gifted us the entire Dave Ramsey financial freedom or whatever it was. And it was the CDs. It was like it came with like 30 different CDs. And I was like, oh, people, I'm never going to watch this, but I love you so much. The first time Chris met him, he sequestered him into the office with him and talked to him about, his Roth IRA and where we were investing our money and all these things. And God love him. Like that was so important to him. And it meant like that was his legacy of passing that down to us. But there was some scarcity there, right? There was a level of like, don't take on debt. Debt is so bad. And there was something in me, like I've never resonated with that. I'm not somebody who's scared of debt. I believe in leveraging debt and just being conscious and smart with it. But that's just an example of something that I didn't blindly accept just because somebody that I loved and trusted with my life believed that for themselves. Okay. So anyway, sign number one, you've always felt different around money in a good way, right? This feeling that I'm meant for more won't leave you alone and has never left you alone. That is a big, big sign that you are destined and meant to be very, very, very wealthy. Sign number two that you are meant to be wealthy. You can handle rock bottom. So there are a lot of stories of people who have gone on to create massive amounts of wealth and incredibly successful stories of financial abundance, businesses, investments, you name it, where they started from nothing. So when you're able to come from such a different place and hold that, and you're okay with that, and you realize you can survive that, there's something that's really beautiful there. And I believe when it comes to attracting money, there does have to be a certain level of detachment. If you're so starving for money and you're so desperate, is more the word. When you are desperate for money, there's a repelling energy that takes place there, right? Because essentially you are identifying and putting out the energy that you are in lack, that you do not have wealth, that you do not have that money. Even if you don't, even if that is your truth, when you are desperate for something, it's all that does is sending out the signal that you are without it, and you attract what you are. So when you are able to successfully detach from money and the desperation for it, it's not that you can't desire it, but there's a big difference. I want you to feel and hear the difference in that. I desire money. I desire wealth versus I need money. I need to be wealthy. I'm desperate for it. I will do anything to get it. There's, even if it's just slight, it is a difference. You can still have something and desire more of it. I have a beautiful, beautiful relationship with my husband. I have him. We have a gorgeous dynamic, and I still want it. I still desire more of it. I want to optimize it. I want it to get even better, but I'm not lacking. That's the difference versus I don't have it. I don't have a man. I don't have a relationship. And until I get it, I cannot be happy. I cannot be whole. You will continue to repel it. So when you're able to handle rock bottom situations as it relates to money, the amazing thing about this is you realize, okay, while I don't love being broke, while I don't love being at quote unquote a rock bottom situation as it relates to money, I know I can handle it. I know I can survive it. I know ultimately I'm going to be okay. That gives a certain level of safety and ease, which just makes it a lot easier for that money to be attracted into your experience. When you are able to appreciate what you have, even though you know it can get better and it will get better, again, you're already paying attention and identifying the abundance of the situation, even if to other observers it looks dire and it looks completely void of the thing that you're wanting to attract, right? That makes you a really powerful manifester and attractor. So, yeah, if you, again, it doesn't mean that you have to love that experience, but when you realize, okay, I can handle it. Like, God forbid I were to lose everything, I would be okay. I have this. I come from a lack situation with money. Wasn't lovely, but can I handle it? Of course I can. Everybody can. But I think there are some people out there who maybe were born into wealth and that is their biggest fear. And they just lack a little bit of that edge and grit that those that come from or that have experienced those rock bottom situations, we have because of that. It's strengthened us and thus made us even more of a powerful attractor for that wealth. Sign number 3 that you are meant to be or you are destined for wealth is you are obsessed with growth and becoming wealthy. And what I mean by that is you want it, you desire it. There's no comfort with mediocrity. And the next sign is actually you're uncomfortable with mediocrity. So we're going to go a step deeper. But this is like the growth is the goal. So if growth is the goal for you, you're never going to stop, right? And that's really important when it comes to wanting to be wealthy. You don't just stop at rich. And a lot of people, they get a certain amount of money and then they're like, okay, I'm good. And they kind of maybe revert back to old patterns or old ways. So when you are obsessed in a good way, not in a desperate way, but in a challenging way, in a way that's rooted in desire with growth and becoming wealthy. This is, to me, this is proof that this frequency is in you. There is a future version of you. There's an alternate timeline where you already have it. And it's like you're beckoning your current self on this current timeline, or this timeline that you find yourself, to join you in this alternate timeline. Not everybody wants to be wealthy, right? And that sounds crazy. And you might be thinking to yourself, well, I'd be hard pressed to go up to anybody and ask them if they'd want to be healthy and them say no. But there's a difference in like, yeah, I'd love to win the lottery versus, no, I want to create wealth for myself. I think everybody probably desires more money, but not everybody has an obsession and a desire to become wealthy. These are two different things. So when you are somebody who you would much rather invest and spend your time creating a level of self-expansion and financial expansion rather than staying comfortable and stagnant, this is like, you're different. You're built different. This is all on purpose. You are attracted to this. You want this for yourself for a reason. You are different. Not everybody else is this way. Sign number 4, like I said, you're uncomfortable with mediocrity. Settling for what is feels suffocating. It feels wrong. You can't be just fine or okay or have just enough. It doesn't feel right in your spirit to stop where you are. There are so many people out there, and I'm honestly, sometimes I'm jealous of them, who are so content being right where they are. They have the job, they have the relationship, they have the kids, or whatever situation that they've dreamt for themselves, and they're good, right? They're in a place of comfort. They know what to expect. They know the bills are going to be paid. They know the couple of trips they can take each year. They know what they can afford. They know what they can't afford. And they have made peace with that. There are times where I'm like, oh, and not in a condescending way, like, oh, I wish I could be like that. No, like genuinely, there are times where I'm like, why can't I be like that? But I'm not. And I know so many of you listening and watching right now feel the same way, where that just, I don't know how else to describe it, except it just doesn't feel right in your spirit to stop. You are never going to be comfortable with mediocrity. And I believe that is absolutely by design, because you were never meant to stop here. I believe when you are meant to stop or feel content, because that's what you came here to achieve, right? Like you've learned the lessons, you've accomplished the things that you signed up for in your soul contract or whatever it is that you believe, and you've done it. And maybe there's a little bit more and a few more experiences, but for the most part, you are content. Great. But until you hit that, you're going to feel this hunger and you're going to feel a level of discomfort until you get it. Now, this is different from being addicted to achieving and being addicted, constantly climbing and looking for the next mountain peak. That's a different conversation. But again, it's just like I said, back to my story, it's like there was this ember in me. It was so tiny, but it would never be blown out. Even with like the darkest and most lonely and depressing of situations, it still continued to burn and lead me forward. And I believe that that's by design. So if you relate to that, I believe that is a sign for you as well. Sign number 5, you are destined to be wealthy in this lifetime. You see opportunities where others see problems. Okay. This is specifically for my entrepreneurs and business owners out there. You naturally look for solutions. You have this DNA, this mindset of entrepreneurship, which is perfect for building wealth. When you think that way and you don't just, again, lie down and take it, and you look at situations in this different point of view where, so many people are like, that's an issue. That's not good. I hate that. You look at it as, okay, what's the opportunity here? This is that difference in you, right? Like it is that level of ingenuity, this level of thinking that there's no ceiling to what you'll ever create. You have a level of creativity, you have a level of problem solving where, maybe your first business doesn't take off or your second business or your third, but the sixth will, because you're constantly looking through the lens of what is the opportunity here, not just the problem, but where can I make this situation better? How can I look at this differently? There's an edge to that. Also, there's this idea here too of repelling the victim mindset. Where so many are just like, I wasn't born into wealth, or life is hard, we're cursed. My family's always been cursed with money problems, or this is just how it is. This is what I was born into, or this is the situation now. And it's always about what somebody else has done to them, or, it's that victim mentality. You instead say, okay, what's my role here? And more importantly, what's the role that I can play to get me out of this situation? You let go of the victim narrative. You realize that's a waste of time. That's a trap. And you step into the hero of your own journey, and you take control as a co-creator of not only your life, but your abundance, especially financially as well. Sign number 6 that you are meant to be wealthy is you are drawn to luxury and high standards, even if you cannot afford them yet. I think another sidebar here is you can visualize your life as a wealthy person. You see it so clearly in your mind. It's just there. This is another one that I personally relate to. I've shared where I come from. I have no reason to have the taste that I have, but boy, do I have some taste. I am the epitome of a champagne, champagne preference on a beer budget or whatever that is. Like that was me 100%. And I don't know where that came from, because I don't know. I have no idea where it came from, but it's there. And we could look at it as outside influence, maybe from TV or I don't know, whatever. I mean, we could call it whatever you want, but how I choose to reframe it is that this is just proof that I was always meant to be rich. Because it's these desires that I have had that have kept me going. I didn't want to settle for not being able to afford clothes or not being able to afford extracurricular activities or things with my friends. So I went and I got a job at 14. I didn't want to settle for an entry-level position or a lower level career. So I went and I put myself through college, and I put myself in massive debt to get an education, because unfortunately, a few years ago, that's all that we all knew how to do at the time. That was the path. So I took that path. I didn't want to settle for a ceiling of revenue. There was more that I wanted. So I started my own business, and I made sure that there wasn't a ceiling to what I could create. All of this was driven by a want for more, not necessarily in a materialistic sense, but yes, in large part, a materialistic sense. I wanted the nice clothes. I wanted to invest in the nicer things, in the car and the home. I just feel better in those environments. It's who I am. It's how I'm designed, and I refuse to apologize for it. And I would encourage you to stop apologizing for it too, and simply take it as a sign that your desire for more, it's not shallow. It's more of a compass, so to speak, to the life that's available to you, including wealth. Okay. Your taste, the things that you want, your standards for how you want to live and what you want to invest in, it's showing you the life that you are meant to normalize it. Otherwise, that you're meant to normalize. Otherwise, you wouldn't desire it. Sign number 7 that you are meant to be wealthy in this lifetime is you can hold contradictions. You are okay being, maybe not okay, but you don't crash out and self-sabotage just because what you're experiencing right now isn't the level of wealth that you know that you're here to create. Right? You can be in a broke season or a broker season while still believing you have wealth flowing through your veins. And that is a destiny that you know that you're going to create for yourself. You can feel fear in your body, but still take action. When you are able to hold that duality, it kind of collapses time in your favor, because at the end of the day, the duality is always going to be there. Life rarely is going to hand you a perfect hand. There's always going to be opportunities for you to feel fear, for you to doubt yourself. There's always going to be situations, especially when you are growth driven and you have such high standards and goals for your life. It's going to be a minute until you've reached that peak for yourself. So if until you get there, you refuse to feel okay and you can't handle it, right? You crash out so hard that like you adopt this victim mentality in a sense, or you don't take action, you can't hold the contradiction. Well, your whole life is going to be that. All life is duality. So the people that are able to flow through life through the ups and the downs while upholding a standard of rich girl energy, of wealth and abundance, whether they can see it or not, they are the ones who move through those low moments the fastest and attract in what they are meant to attract in. So they get through those valleys a lot faster than the people who maybe, they feel good at the peak, they feel good in the high moments, but the second that things start to drip or dip, they freak the hell out. This is rooted in lack. And this is why a lot of people will experience really long periods of lack, of money issues or relationship issues, because again, they can't handle the void. Life is always going to go up and down. It's always going to give you a mixed hand. So when you can hold and be steady with your energy when things are fantastic and when things aren't exactly what you wish was, again, you're going to move through those so much faster. And this is such a code for wealth, because first and foremost, it's a frequency, right? Like how you attract in wealth is you become wealthy first without the money. It is a vibe. So if you can hold that before it's here, it's only a matter of time until it becomes your reality. And then finally, my favorite one, sign number 8 that you are meant to be wealthy in this lifetime is you had a really difficult childhood or younger life. Okay, so this could be your childhood. This could be maybe in your teens or your 20s or your 30s. But there was a really, really dark period that you went through earlier in your life. So what I believe is that we all came here for a reason. I believe that we chose our parents. I believe that we chose certain experiences that we came here to experience, certain karma that we came here to deal with. And I believe if you have a bigger purpose and you are meant to do big things in this lifetime, it behooves you to get a lot of those karmic cycles tied and squared away earlier in your life so that you can get the lessons, so that you can get the purpose, the power, whatever, and you can remove that karmic baggage so that then you can step into who you were always meant to become, so that you can alchemize those experiences and allow it to shape your identity. And then you can finally step into that bigger purpose. This, of course, is not true for every single person, obviously. And I don't want you to hear this and think to yourself, well, shoot, I had a beautiful childhood. I can't think of any, like I can't relate to that. That does not mean that you're not meant to be wealthy. I'm just saying that you see this a lot with a lot of other people. And I believe that this is a sign that you chose to experience big challenges up front so that you could move through them faster and step into your purpose free of all of the drama. And then whenever you're stepping into your purpose, that often will include wealth. Not always, but often. There's something about paying off karmic debts early. So for some people, it could trickle through their whole life over decades. But then other times for some people, it's more what people call front loaded. So they get, again, they just choose to go through it a lot earlier so that they can spend the rest of their life in their purpose because their debts are paid, and then they're free to create with a cleaner slate and create higher levels of wealth. As I say that, it is 1:11. We love that. Okay. So those are the 8 signs. 8 signs that being broke right now does not mean that you are meant to remain broke forever. In fact, if these resonated, I believe that it is your proof that wealth is your destiny, truly. So I want you to remember your current circumstances are not the final chapter. They are simply the training ground for the abundance that is coming. Okay? So I hope these resonated with you. If one of these signs hit you hard or super resonated, please let me know. Screenshot this episode, tag me on Instagram, slide into my DMs, comment on this video on YouTube, and tell me which one was your favorite and that resonated with you most. And if you are ready to go deeper into activating your own wealth codes, I have linked a free 30-minute training below in the show notes. It's called FU Money, and I will show you 3 simple steps that I use to turn content into scalable income that stacks cash month after month. So until next time, keep trusting your future self and keep moving toward the rich life you know is already yours. I love you. Bye.